What's up, and welcome back to my channel. Some of you would have seen me, moving about in DR, and it was an amazing, amazing trip. Listen, get out there, man. Honestly, not just DR, travel, 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 travel. There is a saying in my native tongue or my native language that says or translates into a well-traveled young man is equivalent to an old man. But anyways, enough of that. Why have I chosen DR? Um, I'm going to go through why I've chosen DR in this video. I'm going to go through exactly what my investment in DR is or was. And then I'm going to go through sort of the process of how it all worked, how DR, like Caribbean, they have a very slow culture. So sometimes chasing things up can be extremely long and tiring. But sometimes when they want something from you, especially when it comes to handing over money, they're very, very fast with it. And cool. So starting, I've always had the vision of owning multiple properties throughout the whole world. I've always said, look, I've never wanted to be constrained by location. So I've always had I've always had the urge to, yeah, I've got a place in England, beautiful country home, by God's grace in future. I'm giving you the future, right? And, oh, you know what? I might have a beautiful, beautiful place in South Africa, maybe in the Western Cape, have a nice little place in the Caribbean, and so on and so forth. Might have a nice farm in the US somewhere, on the outskirts of Houston or Texas or wherever. I think Texas is the state, but you get the point. So my friend came over to me, I think towards the end of last year, and he goes, "Oh, I've been looking at DR, and I thought, DR. Funny enough, I'd looked at Dominica, but I never looked at Dominican Republic. I think maybe that was a confusion for me because I know there's another country called Dominica. So, anyways, considering that I'd already looked at Dominican, but maybe I was looking at the wrong country rather than the DR. He came to me, showed me, some properties, and I was blown away. And I just started looking into the country, exploring, understanding that they spoke Spanish. Then during my research, I came to realize that the DR is one of the most visited. In fact, not one of, it is the most visited location in that part of the world. It receives around 9 million visitors a year. So then for me, I was like, okay, that's an opportunity. So if I bought a place here or if I built a place here, then of course I could always rent it when I'm not using it, if that makes any sense, right? Moving on from that, I've always liked the idea of owning all my places around the world. So when I look to buy, I look at the cheapest way of getting into that place. So rather than, let's say in DR now, rather than, let's say, buying a completed building and I'm paying, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars, I'd rather buy the land and then slowly build over the next 5 years, for example. Because I've always thought you would be as comfortable as you made your old age to be. What do I mean by that? If I can purchase all the places that I want to be at, all my potential holiday destinations, and I ended up owning it now, then that means by the time I'm 50, by the time my kids are 18, 25, listen, life is good and gravy. We don't have to say, are we booking a hotel here? Are we booking a hotel there? No. If you feel like the South of Africa, here is the key. If you feel like the Caribbean, here is the key. If you feel like the North of Africa, here is the key. If you feel like the West of Africa, here is the key. That's the whole point. If you feel like the America, here is the key. That's the whole point and that's the whole vibe. So anyway, I went out to DR. They're very lovely, very welcoming, and we moved around a lot. We looked at villas, we looked at land, we looked at beachfront, and it's getting expensive. I do think that in the next maybe 10 years, when you look at a DR, you would be blown away by how unaffordable it's become, because it's very evident. There's a lot of expats, a lot of ex-military personnel. These people are dumping their investments, their 401ks and, their pensions and whatnot. They're dumping it into DR. And DR is to the Americans what Spain is to us Londoners or us, Brits, if you want to call it that. So yeah, so I went out to DR, very welcoming, and there was an estate. They just launched the estate. They were still putting together the paperwork, like getting all the right certifications and everything else. So it was relatively on the cheaper end, relatively. And the whole point was once they perfected the title of the place, it would jump by, $30, $40 per square meter. So I thought, hold on, I'm buying about 2,000 square meters. And I'm thinking, okay, I've done the maths. I'm like, oh, so by just biding early, biding my time and waiting, I could literally just create 80,000 to 100,000 in net worth out of thin air. I thought, that's my strategy, and that's how I like to operate. So went out there, got the quads out, and viewed a whole bunch of places, but ended up settling in a place in Samana City. Samana City, it's so DR is into different zones, and all the zones are beautiful. You have the Punta Cana, where the international airport is. You have the capital, which is I think Santa Domingo, and then you have up north, and then you have to the other direction, you have Samana. And within Samana, you have La Terrena, which is where most people that visit Samana Axis, they visit that place. A, think of Samana as a, what would have been a nice, cool village, but it's getting really, really known. So, it's packed if you come, let's say around Easter, that kind of vibe. So it wasn't built as a big city, if that makes any sense. It's very laid back. There's a coastline going all around Samana, that kind of vibe. So that's sort of what it is. Now, in terms of the numbers, 1 second. So these are all the reasons why. So So my plan, sort of moving forward, I want to double down on DR. I believe in DR. I want to double down on DR. I want to, get in at least $250,000 into the Dominican Republic dollars, $250,000 over the next sort of 2 years. I want to put that in because I'm also of the opinion, I'm part of the reason why I have this sort of investment strategy is I believe, just like in business, when you solidify, you spread out. You solidify, you spread out. And I've solidified in Nigeria. I've really solidified in Nigeria. I've got houses, I've got apartments, I've got land, I've got farmland, I've got land that's ready to develop, that's in a commercial area. So I've really done well in Nigeria, and I want to diversify because a great investor doesn't just put all their funds into Nigeria. As great as Nigeria is, one poor policy from the government really upends my investments potentially. That very unlikely to happen, but from an investment perspective, that's how I think about things. So I want to start hedging my bets because I'm a real estate guy. So I want to start hedging my bets in different other locations that are hot, great appreciation, and great yields as well. And DR has become one of them. So ended up securing a 12 months payment plan. We first put down a small deposit, and then within 30 days, we had to put down 30% of the entire project. And then obviously within the remaining 12 months period, we're expected to put down the remaining 60 something percent. So, and that's what we're doing now. But I'm dealing with a really, really, really good estate agent and, well connected to the developer as well. So the plan is by the time I'm finishing this, start another one and just go bigger and bigger and bigger. But probably the next deal go 150,000 or maybe even 200,000. And then that way now officially you have well over $250,000, over 300, 400,000 in DR alone, and then the plan is obviously create an avenue that allows me to sort of slowly, maybe over a 4 or 5 year period, if I look at a building project, if it's going to cost me, for example, £250,000 or dollars, I can say, cool, I'm going to build over 5 years. And just every year I put in $50,000 adjusted for inflation, but roughly, every year just take 50,000, you put in 50,000, you put in. I can't wait to take my family around there. I can't wait to take my kids around there and just say, look, yeah, we are multi with it. We live across multiple countries. Cause you know what? Maybe I'm going to spend a month of the year here or 2 months of the year here, but it's worth it. It's worth it because these are things that eventually you end up passing over to your kids. This becomes their holiday destination for them and their kids. And, that's the vision that I have. And, eventually, when I'm away, some of my properties are the way I'm building my asset class, right? Some of my properties cannot be sold. It will be held in trust to be used by my kids and the offspring and the rest of the generation. And the bigger they get, the trust can have systems in place where, you just go online and you book and you're going to be in this DR and everyone is entitled to, maybe if it's a large family, everyone is entitled to 2 weeks a year or 3 weeks a year or 4 weeks a year. You book it. And you know that during that time of the year, you have access to the DR property. That's if it's only one property in DR. But at the rate that I'm going, chances are I'll probably have another place in DR. This place here is right on the mountains. It's literally beautiful view. You could sort of see the water in the distance. It's within a nice local community as well. And after this, I'm probably going to look at a beachfront, but beachfronts are very expensive. You're looking at, to get a decent beachfront, you're probably looking at 400,000. Depending on the size anyways, but yeah, like an acre of land in front of a beach, you're looking at about $400,000 in, a good location. That's not too far from, good civilization, not too far from city center, shops and so on and so forth. So yeah, that's a bit about DR. And follow my journey. I'll probably go out there again next year, and I'll make sure to keep you guys updated. Have a good one. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. It's JV CEO.